Jackie's 30-year search for her missing mum.
Everyone else has a grandma.
Now, 3 generations feel the heartache.
We don't have anyone to look up to or anything.
I'm just looking for a missing person in the area. I'm just wondering if you've seen
Plus, a real mystery.
By the time I locked the dog up, I couldn't see which way she went.
A 70-year-old Yvonne disappears without a trace.
Yvonne, darling, I love you. A place to come home.
And in the case of missing husband Ronald Bars, is this the news that wife Kathy has been waiting for?
You don't realise, how upsetting and how traumatic it is until it's yourself going through it.
It's shaping up to be a busy week for the officers of the Missing Persons Unit. Over 30 new cases reported just from the day before.
You got a 70-year-old female been reported by her husband.
For Sergeant Jane Sutcliffe, there's no time to lose. She's been handed the case of a 70-year-old woman with dementia who walked out the front door and vanished.
Darren, you've got a case from Victoria, Veronica Green.
Senior Constable Darren Connerbeer has been assigned the Victorian case of Mum Veronica Green, missing for 30 years.
Jane, I believe there's information in relation to Ronald Barr.
In the ongoing case of missing husband Ronald Bars, there's been a new development. Last week, police visited Kathy Wilkins, who was devastated when her husband Ronald disappeared.
He never came home.
A massive air and land search in the Armidale area has failed to find Ronald.
We've searched all the areas that we've assessed and we've turned up nothing.
So, with the search called off, Jane broke the bad news to Kathy.
Where could he possibly be?
I really don't know what to tell you. If he's fallen over and injured himself or if he, just wants to go out and stay out there, then could be that, he'll never be found, so...
But this morning, there's finally some good news for the Bars family.
I received a phone call this morning from Armidale Police to say that Mr Bars has been located on a property about 32 kilometres out of Armidale.
Ronald may have been located, but all is not as it seems.
Our concerns about his mental state, so...
Yeah.
Good morning, Jindabyne, is it?
In the case of runaway mum Veronica Green, Darren has been asked by the Victorian Police to help follow up a new lead that places Veronica in New South Wales.
It's very common for the different states to liaise with each other, particularly in terms of when we're trying to track down the long-term missing cases. There's been information received that this Veronica Green could actually be either in Jindabyne, Jerilderie or Jamberoo.
While the lead is still hot, Darren decides to send a new missing persons poster of Veronica to Jindabyne Police for immediate release.
Sort of pass it around some of the more prominent locals there to see whether they recognise her at all.
Later that morning, Jane and Ronald's wife, Kathy, leave for Armidale Hospital to meet up with her missing husband.
When she first rang and said that they had found him, of course I was very stressed. It's good knowing that he's fine, but it's very hard to get it through your head that everything's fine and it's finished and it's all over.
By the time Jane and Kathy arrive in Armidale, the news is not good. Ronald's been moved to a psychiatric hospital 120 kilometres south in Tamworth.
Feeling a little bit sick in the tummy, just sort of not knowing, have been in mental units before with work, and knowing sort of what they're like, it was a little bit off-putting when you know it's one of your own, one of your close people, so it's a bit hard.
Meanwhile, back in Victoria, its missing persons unit has over 400 long-term cases they're investigating. And Senior Constable Helen Nugent has spent years trying to solve one of them. Missing mum, Veronica Green.
This is the original report that was filled out on the 15th of the 2nd, 1976 at 11 a.m. Although there's many, many missing persons, there's some, I suppose, jump out at you and grab you, and you don't try more on one than you do another. But this one certainly got my heart, I suppose.
There's you, look at that.
This case is special for
How old do
Helen
you reckon you were then?
because when Veronica disappeared 30 years ago, she also left behind two young daughters.
Susan and Penny.
They've spent years working closely with Helen, trying to find their mum.
We came across a photo yesterday when Penny and I were looking at some photos, and we didn't even think of this one, but I reckon that this one is probably the most recent of Mum. And I'm thinking if we could even get that up at Truck City in Campbellfield, because that's where they used to go.
On the way to Tamworth, Kathy's fears are growing by the minute.
I don't think he'll be very happy that I've involved the police, but hopefully he'll understand that that was the only way that we could try and find him. So I am a little bit apprehensive about how he'll react.
Only a face-to-face meeting with her husband will determine how he feels about seeing the woman he walked out on.
I mean, we've been together for 19 years. It's a long relationship, and yeah, you sort of see these things with other people and go, oh, poor things, but you don't realise, you know, how upsetting and how traumatic it is until it's yourself going through it.
That's really old. I think that was even before.
Today is the 30th anniversary of Veronica Green's disappearance, and all these years on, Jackie and Penny still relive the day their mum left.
I didn't look too happy in that one.
Jackie was only 7 years old. Her sister Penny, just 14, when their mum vanished.
The night before she left, I did my little prayer and then jumped into bed, and she would always just tuck me in.
Jackie's memory of that gut-wrenching moment has haunted her every day since.
I'd had a dream that two nights previous that that she left, and so I thought I'd ask her, Mummy, would you ever leave us? And she said, of course. She said, don't be so silly. And she never finished tucking me in, you know, and she walked out the door so fast. And the next day that was it.
Back in Tamworth, Kathy's meeting with husband Ronald in the psychiatric ward has been a traumatic reunion.
Very emotional. I just burst into tears because I thought, well, yeah, he's okay. You know, I think it finally set in that, yes, he's okay. I couldn't get that through my head last night. I hadn't slept very much, and just seeing him was very emotional, but he's fine. So it was the best outcome we could have asked for.
In Melbourne, 30 years after Veronica vanished, her disappearance is still a complete mystery for her daughters.
On the day Veronica went missing, she's went to work, she's said goodbye to her colleagues at the train station, and that's the last anybody saw of her.
That must have been so incredibly difficult for her. Like, as a mum, I can't imagine how hard that must have been. And from reports, we were told that she cried all day. She cried all day at work.
But Penny was older when her mum ran away and remembers a lot more.
I do remember conversations where Dad would say, you know, in their heated arguments, if you ever leave, don't ever take those children because I will find you. I actually remember once I just stood up and I said to him, you know, if it wasn't for you, we'd still have a mother, you know?
Back in Sydney, Jane has begun checking leads on her new case, Yvonne Rubin, a missing 70-year-old grandmother who suffers from dementia.
She was reported missing by her husband, and she was last seen at 5:45 p.m. Last Saturday.
Yvonne walked out of her front door 2 days ago and hasn't been seen since.
Nick speaking.
Yeah, hi, my name's Jane Sutcliffe from the Police Missing Persons
Nick
Unit.
Rubin, Yvonne's son, has been searching for his mum ever since.
Your mother who's gone missing? Where are you at the moment? Are you just in the local area?
No, I'm down the back of the War Veterans Home, just scouting the boundary and just checking all nooks and crannies out in the edge of the bush.
Okay, so you've been having a good look around there.
We have been for 2 days. We've just been going backwards and forwards, you know, so we'll be around.
Yeah, okay.
No worries.
Okay, I'll give you a call a bit later.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Meanwhile, in Melbourne, Helen Nugent pays another visit to Jackie and Penny to question them about the new developments in the 30-year-old case of their missing mum. After years of working together to find Veronica, their closeness is obvious.
When people see a program like this and they think, I saw that person, and you never know, maybe we'll get that one phone call for us.
In Sydney, on the trail of missing grandmother Yvonne Rubin, Jane and Pat are off to question her husband, the last person to have seen Yvonne 2 days ago.
My name's Jane Suckley from Missing Persons Unit. This is Pat.
How are you?
So she hadn't told you anything about going out for a walk or anything like that? And she didn't have anything with her, just what she was wearing?
She had no bag, or as far as I know, she had no money or anything on. And I was in the backyard, and all of a sudden, I turned around and she got the side gate open. By the time I locked the dog up, I couldn't see which way she went, downhill or uphill. Disappeared.
Yvonne has been the love of Nick's life for over 50 years. But since the onset of her dementia, she's become increasingly confused.
Nothing wrong with her physically and that, but it's only the, as I said, you know, the sickness that she's got, you know. Put a conversation to her and say anything that happened, say 10 years ago or earlier, she's there, you know. But anything, say, if I was to ask her, say, you know, what she had for breakfast yesterday, I couldn't answer. If it could be cured, I'll give the house away for, you know, if she could have, you know, become good the way she used to be.
Over the years, family members claim to have seen Veronica on a number of occasions, and always with the same man, a truck driver.
That we only know Mum's partner to be Steve-O, and that he apparently left his family at about the same time as Mum left us. I think that Mum was so desperate to perhaps escape what she was going through, that if there was someone willing to step up and give her a hand in doing that, that was completely removed from the family, then I'm sure that, you know, that she probably would have taken that.
It's now been over 2 days since Yvonne wandered off, and the worry is certainly taking its toll on her husband.
I crossed my arms up here on the table. I slept for about an hour. The night before, didn't sleep a wink. Didn't want to go to bed. I just stayed in the dirty clothes as I was. You know, just hoping she returns, you know, or get some news from the police, whether they see her somewhere or somebody sees and reports it that, you know, they've seen her. And nothing happened nowhere. Yeah.
She's a 70-year-old woman with dementia. It would be tough for anyone to survive out there in the bush, and if she's not found soon, then it may be too late.
Sydney grandmother Yvonne Rubin has been missing for almost 3 days. A 70-year-old lady with dementia. Naturally, the fears for her safety are growing. So local police hold an urgent briefing.
There's been some search for her conducted on Saturday night initially, and then again on Sunday, and that search included pole air.
They've been searching in the air and on the ground, and it's not going well.
The police dog has indicated that there is no scent. The son of the missing person spoke to a resident who believes that she spoke to the missing person on Saturday night. They had an argument about the missing person picking flowers of the informant.
And that's exactly where they head to next, where Yvonne was last seen picking the flowers.
It hugs Narrabeen Lake.
Yep.
Maybe we just want to head down there and start from there.
We'll meet you up there.
Okay.
While police begin their search of the trails in New South Wales, In Melbourne, on her own trail, Helen now realises she may be looking for a woman who just doesn't want to be found.
You know, if you were driving on trucks and you were travelling interstate, you would be harder to track, harder to find. And she always said that if I go, no one will ever find me. I don't think she is Veronica Green or Veronica Midcraft anymore, and that's, you know, if only we had a name.
30 years ago, you could become anybody you wanted to be. And now, how many names has this woman taken on? And that's one of the things that I look at when I make my inquiries. I do them all in her maiden name, any other name that she may have used at any time. So I might send off for a birth certificate in New South Wales and request it under 5 different names.
Perhaps my mum's watching this.
We'll see what we can do for you, for both of you.
With the trail bike search underway, Jane returns to the Reuben home to speak with Yvonne's son, Nick.
Nick, is it?
Yep. Nick's just returned after searching the area himself.
Oh, we've just been around the bottom of this track.
Yep.
Any steep crevices, checking under rocks.
OK, so you've done a pretty thorough search.
Yeah, and checking those areas out and just speaking to some people that are on the back area there, whether they've actually noticed her. We come up with one lady that did, because she was picking her flowers and they had a bit of an argument. And yeah, so we've putting things together of, you know, where she was at certain times of the day. And
it's been a couple of nights that she's been out there.
Dementia, it's a bit of a worry in a sense. You know, like 1 minute she might be good, next minute she mightn't even know what a tap is to have a drink. So that's where we are.
Just as Helen prepares to leave, Jackie drops a bombshell.
Apparently,
she's just heard that her mum may have had a baby boy over 30 years ago who could have been adopted out.
My auntie and my mum were fairly close, and she often says that mum agonised over giving her boy up. And
if Penny and Jackie can find a brother, it may be the best chance yet of finding their mum.
Perhaps she may have contacted him, and, you know, there may be a connection there.
Jackie thinks her mum Veronica had the baby in Sydney.
So I do suggest you could keep going down that track.
After talking with Yvonne's son Nick, Jane and Pat head to the local shops to see if anyone has spotted her.
I'm just wondering if you've seen this lady. She's a missing person. She's been missing since Saturday. She's last seen around this area.
I'm sorry, no, I haven't.
I'm just wondering if you've seen this woman around at all. She went missing on Saturday night. She suffers from dementia. She apparently frequents the shopping area.
No, sorry, I haven't seen her.
at all. No, I'm just looking for a missing person in the area. I'm just wondering if you've seen her. She went missing
With no luck at the
Saturday
shops, the best hope now is that the helicopter search planned later that evening will find Yvonne.
Yeah, Darren, it's Helen from Melbourne's missing person. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you very much.
Very good to hear. Speaking with Jackie, she's giving me a date of birth for perhaps a son that was born to her. What would the possibility be of... If I could perhaps send you through a request for a birth certificate for children born to Veronica?
Helen believes that Veronica gave birth to a son in New South Wales. So Darren is now asked to assist.
I'll make sure I put that on there.
OK. Bye for now.
Hopefully the information comes back that she has. This is one of the strongest leads for the daughters. Hopefully it'll help the daughters actually find their mother.
Oh, gee, if I could just see her again and that would just make my world complete. You know, I don't feel like my life's complete.
30 years of tears may finally be wiped away if Darren's search for Jackie's missing brother is successful.
I just want to know how you got on with that birth, deaths and marriages check for me for Veronica Green.
OK, contacted Birth, Deaths and Marriages. They ran a check on her, found that she did in fact have a child, but there's only going to be one problem. That child was adopted.
Veronica Green did give birth to a child in 1959, so that's obviously a bit of positive news. It's probably going to come as a bolt out of the blue for her daughters, because now they're going to have a whole new, fresh range of emotions that are going to be dragged up. That all of a sudden they're going to realise that they have a brother out there somewhere as well as a missing mother.
Jane has spent the last few days searching for 70-year-old Yvonne Reuben with no luck. But then an unexpected call regarding her other case, missing man Ronald Bars, makes her day.
Since we're in Armidale, Ronald's been released from hospital in Tamworth and Kathy has taken him home. So we're just on the way now to see them both at home and just check that Kathy's all right and Ronald's recovered.
Hi, how are you?
Good, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
It's been a bit of an adventure.
Yes, it has been actually.
Must be good to have him home.
It is, yeah. Feeling much more relieved now.
Yeah.
Just trying to get him back to normal and get all his wounds and everything.
Kathy can't believe what her husband has been through.
The road just narrowed down to like a goat track, and I was like, this is not right. And it threw me off and burnt my leg. I must knock myself out. And when I come back to, it took me 2 days to get out.
So what did you do at night? Did you have matches for a fire or anything?
No, I had no matches, no nothing. I just found a rock and sheltered under it. Just sort of curled up like that, because I didn't have a shirt on.
All right, okay.
All I had was a pair of shorts and my boots. So I was just curled up like in a ball like that.
Yeah.
Shivering.
So the farmer will probably find his shirt there. He's still a little bit vague. He's still sort of saying to me that he was just going to visit his sister. And I thought, well, I guess we'll sort of get more out of him as we talk. But yeah, but physically he's really good.
Well, thank you all for your help.
Oh,
yeah,
it's a pleasure.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, no.
And I want to thank you too, because you guys have just been so supportive through all this. It was good to know that I had support.
As one case closes for Jane, across town, another has reached a critical point. After 3 long days, grandmother Yvonne Rubin is still missing. So Jane has organised for Pol Air to make one final search for the 70-year-old.
We're heading out towards Narrabeen Lake. We're transiting up to the north of Sydney, heading that way right now.
Pol Air is using its thermal imaging camera to look for Yvonne. It can literally see in the dark.
See, the silver area is Narrabeen Lakes. The darker area is the bushland. We're looking for heat sources. This equipment is fairly sophisticated, picks up temperature differentials between the types of terrain. We've got some heat sources there that are rocks. This area is fairly dense foliage, and if someone's hiding down there or fallen down a crevice or something like that, they're going to be very hard to find. Unfortunately, at this stage, we haven't had any positive sign of a body, or whether alive or dead.
If she is down there and not found tonight, there's every chance this elderly lady won't survive a 3rd night in the bush.
Yvonne, darling, I love you. Please come home. We're looking for you. We've been searching for you for 2 days. Police is searching. The buses are searching. The taxis are searching. Everybody in the neighbourhood is looking for you. So please come home.
Happy birthday to me.
Back in Melbourne, Jackie celebrates another birthday. But ever since her mum left, no birthday has ever been the same.
My birthday was always the time of the year that Mum went, so it was always not necessarily celebrated but commiserated.
But with every new lead also comes renewed hope of finding Veronica.
Yeah, I mean, just sitting here then, it was quite surreal, because I felt like I could really, I feel like I can really celebrate this birthday.
The 12-year-old grandson, Josh, today is also another sad birthday without his gran.
Everyone else has a grandma, and we don't have anyone to look up to or anything, like to go and have fun at like their house, right? I don't know.
It's just a little bit missing, isn't there?
Yes.
Eh? There's that piece missing. That's all right. One day, baby. Yes. It was my fault. It was my fault. And I'm sorry. we weren't that close. I mean, to have memories of us fighting as my last memories of you, it's been really bad, and I just want you to know that I'm sorry. I'm sorry, and I love you so much. Please come home.
As her family clings to hope, the search for grandmother Yvonne Rubin takes an unexpected twist. Plus, a 14-year-old boy seduced by the street
No, not that I know of.
leaves his heartbroken mum. Is this the news that Jackie and Penny have been waiting 30 years for?